Good evening and welcome to day 1 of the 31 Days of Horror 2014. Now, technically, I could have started yesterday, but that was September. But I did watch a horror movie. You see, I went over to my girlfriend's place and, well, there we decided to watch a movie. And we watched Insidious. I had not seen it before, but she suggested it simply because she knew in my pile of movies to watch is found Insidious 2. Again, I have not seen that one. And of course, I can't see Insidious 2 unless I've seen Insidious. So in my mind, I was kind of thinking Insidious 2 would be next year. But, well, because I wasn't planning on picking up Insidious this month. Possible, but not planning to. But there on her Netflix was Insidious. So she was like, let's watch Insidious. She had already seen Insidious. I'm not going to get into that movie because I already have a movie for this video. And it wasn't part of the 31 Days of Horror, so it doesn't count. No, this one, because technically today, I should have watched Insidious 2, but I promised that I would see it with her, because she's already seen both Insidious and Insidious 2, but she saw them so long ago she's forgotten, so being the kind serial killer that I am, I said, no worries. We'll watch it when you're available. Instead, I'm going to watch that movie that you wanted to watch, but when I put it on, you thought it looked really cheesy, so we turned it off. That's right. She commented on one of well, not on the video, but to me, after watching one of these videos and one of the pickups that I had gotten. You see, on the DVD cover were a bunch of skeletons and ghouly things, and she was like, ooh, I want to see that. Well, she didn't apparently want to see that because she didn't, well, yeah, honestly, it's low budget. And it starts off really bad looking. And that movie is Killer Instinct. Yes. Essentially, the claim to fame for Killer Instinct is that it stars Corbin, Bernsen, and Wallace Stone. Nothing wrong with either of them. They are both skilled actors, and I'd say they do a decent job. In fact, I would say most people, not everybody, but most people in this film do an adequate job of portraying their roles. But here's the thing. The movie has some low budget faults. And they're pretty big ones. But once you get past those, it's okay. Essentially, there's two storylines in this film. There's one where there's the adults who are dealing with some legal power struggle, company intertwining, buying, dealings of that sort, and I'm guessing she's a lawyer or something, I don't know. She's an advocate for this larger company trying to buy this smaller company, and the smaller company is like, no, we're a small town, we don't need you, we need to, make sure that we're here for the town. And so she goes off to find out, how she might be able to, legally, I guess, acquire this without, having to have them all sign over. And of course, she finds some nefarious things in the past. Cue teenagers from the high school, getting drunk in the park. Except, of course, they're all played by late 20, early 30-somethings. Like, clearly older than high school kids. Like, not even close. I even looked up some of their ages. I think the youngest one I could find was 25 when he did the movie. Yeah. What are you gonna do? Because there's a lot of sexual things going on in the film, if you will. Including, well, yes, there is some nudity. But most of it is teasing. There's a lot of teasing at the camera. A lot of suggested nudity, if you will. Suggested scenes of sexuality. Suggested scenes of sex. Clearly there's some sex going on, but you don't really see anything. Unfortunately. And at first I thought that was the best part of this movie. You see, these kids go to an asylum, which in the first part looks like a big asylum. But for some reason, I guess they couldn't get into that building and they just shot the movie in an old mansion. Because it was a really big house, essentially. Either that or the asylum had a small building on the ground somewhere, and there wasn't really any security in that building, even though they tried to make it look like there was. And they tried to make it look like there were rooms with, you know, asylum-like, hospital-like things going on. But mostly it was like a living room and a dining room and some bedrooms and bathrooms, you know, ensuite bathrooms. Yeah, just a big house mansion. But whatever, we'll say it's the asylum. And they go to this place and they're gonna play a dare. So, because this is an old rundown asylum, they have to break in. And because it is an old rundown asylum, even though it's in really good condition and it's only slightly dusty, there are no light bulbs. Well, for the most part, though there are a couple of rooms they get into and eventually they can turn on the power. But the whole idea behind this is, and I get the impression right off the bat, nobody has been in this place before, but I get the impression that they had to have had some idea, because this game that they're going to play is set up so that they can't, you know, turn off any lanterns, turn off any flashlights. It's only going to be lit by candles. Now, here's where one of the problems with the film happens. They show scenes of people sort of exploring the house, but every room they go into already has candles set up and lit. And it's not until the subsequent scene where they explain what the dare is and what's going to happen that they say, oh, and by the way, everything is going to be lit by candles. We put candles everywhere. But who is this we? When did they put them? And when did they light them? I don't quite get... The sequence of events didn't really work out. And that's when I was like, okay, first you started off with a really low-budget lynching. You think it's going to be some serial killer revenge movie. Then you get into this business thing going on. Kind of a made-for-TV looking... And then you get into this really bad sequence, and I'm like, yeah, this is why I was thinking this movie only has nudity going for it. But eventually the asylum locks down, and these people in this game that they're playing, okay, I'll tell you the game. I wasn't really... What these people are doing is they take off their underwear and they put it in a bag, and then everybody pulls out an underwear, and then they go hide the underwear in the house somewhere, and then everybody goes looking for the underwear, and you get points for how many underwear you find, and if you find your own, you win automatically. The rules to this game weren't very well thought out, but it's not really the point. The game is not the point. The game just sort of gets them off on their own. So, yes, they go off on their own. There's some sex happening, there's some people wandering, there's some lesbian innuendos going on, there's some voyeuristic things going on. And then eventually people start getting killed. And this is where the movie is actually somewhat interesting. The few deaths that you get, some of them are kind of but there are at least 2 really good deaths. A couple that are not really good in terms of watching, but you know what? They work in the story, they made sense, you went with it. And then eventually, you know, it gets to the end, twist ending, you learn about who the killer is and what's going on and what the lynching at the beginning of the movie was about and why this side story about this company trying to take over small business, you know, plant in this small town is in this movie, and why, you know, the characters are there. And it's one of those things where you're just like, okay, fine, I get it, but it wasn't necessary, and it really doesn't go anywhere. And honestly, kind of ruined the ending for me. Had they just left it with what was happening and kind of hinted towards, you know, what the actual reason behind all this was, fine, I would have been good. Cut. But no. Then there's some stuff going on and the business aspect comes back into it, and then it just sort of ends with this stupid non-ending. Well, it's an ending, but it's a boring ending. It just like left you hanging. So, Killer Instinct, worth watching? No, not really. But if you have nothing better and it happens to be, say, on your Netflix, which you're already paying for, and you've seen most of everything else, and it happens to be there, and you see Killer Instinct, you know what? Throwing it on is not going to hurt you, and you will get, like I said, you'll get some nudity, you'll get some teasing of the sexual vibes that might get you, you know, titillated. Probably not, but it might. And then you are given a few good kills, but at, what's the runtime on this? 90 minutes? That only gives you about 30 minutes worth watching, and 60 minutes really twiddling your thumbs. And the Canadian home video rating on this is 18A. I can tell you right now, it's 18A for no reason at all. Honestly, I think maybe because of the lesbian innuendos and the nudity, even though nudity normally doesn't get you a high rating in Canada. Those are the only things I can really think of. There are maybe 2 kill sequences that are somewhat gruesome, but I've seen gruesome movies that didn't even, they're rated PG. So maybe this was rated back in the year like 2001. Maybe that's why. And in the, you know, 13 years since, ratings have changed somewhat. But at the same time, I would say an 18A rating on this probably is better for it than PG-13, which is really what it is. Because at least when you look at the 18A, you think, hey, this has got something. And for all of you in the States, 18A usually would be an R rating in the States. Though we tend to rate higher on violence and less on nudity, and you rate higher on nudity, less on violence. So, yeah, who knows? But, yes. Killer Instinct, starring Corbin, Bernsen, and Wallace. It is directed by Ken Barbette. No. This is some scary shit. And by scary shit, I mean you don't get scared watching it, but you get scared of the time you wasted watching it and just how much closer to death you have become. Until next time. Who knows what I'll be bringing? It may be good, it may be bad. I don't even know what I'm gonna watch yet. But it's a long October. Take care. I'll see you in the next video. Nighty night.